Hello, LinkedIn. I'm just going to give us about a minute to get started before we go ahead and talk about one of the topics is near and dear to my heart, and it's all about influential leadership, and it's about how you can inspire and motivate your team. I've done a lot of content on this topic. So if you listen to the Leading in Healthcare podcast or you're inside of the Leading in Healthcare Facebook group, you've probably heard my ideas about this topic. But I figured that we would take a little bit of a deep dive into influential leadership and what it means, and specifically give you my unique perspective and my unique idea on influential leadership and all of these other types of leadership theories that are thrown around that obviously aren't given the full impact that they should be given within the healthcare community, or else we wouldn't be in crisis when it comes to one of the most valuable assets that we have available to us in healthcare. And that's the people that deliver the care either directly or indirectly. So I know that your time is valuable. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And what I want us to do throughout this conversation is to imagine a life where we work in an organization where we actually are not just showing up to go to work to do our job because maybe we need the money, or maybe we've worked so hard to accomplish what we've accomplished. And so we just are going through the motions and showing up. But I want us to actually imagine working in a type of energy where we want to be there. We're inspired to be there. We're motivated to be there. We've transcended our own selfish needs and our own viewpoints, because yes, those are important, but transcendence is important when you're delivering something as important as healthcare. And so imagine a community where we're able to move forward and show up to work doing something like that. So I'm going to pull up my slides here, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see. Let's do that because I don't need to be that big. Anyway, so for those of you that don't know me, first of all, I want to confirm that you are in the right place if you want to learn how to be a more influential leader so that you can inspire and motivate your team. If you don't know who I am, my name is Yashika Lind. I'm a nurse, but I'm a leader, and I own the company, the Lind Group. And I founded this company because there are two things that I'm very passionate about. Number one is people showing up as their best self, not only in their professional life, but also in their personal life. So I do a lot of work with teams and individuals around high performance, performing at your peak, being able to perform in high stress careers without breaking down, without sacrificing your well-being, but also bringing those type of skills into teams, because I feel like leadership development is so outdated. We are learning these same things over and over again, but not really getting to the root of what truly works in order to actually make a difference in healthcare. If all of the stuff that we had available to us actually worked, we wouldn't be in the position that we are in now. And from working with high powered CEOs and executives all over the world, teaching them my specific framework on how to do leadership, what I found is that once you learn this, everything about your life gets more easier, gets more balanced, is more peaceful. But for some reason in healthcare, we just continue to butt our heads doing the same old thing. It doesn't work. So we try it harder, we try it more, we throw dollars at it, all the things, but yet things are getting worse. So I got passionate about something having to change from the people standpoint. And then specifically because of my background in critical care and success in leadership, I also go into organizations to help them with their operational strategy. Another thing about me is I love notes. So you're going to see me looking down, you're going to see me making little marks on my paperwork just so I know that I've given you all the information that you need. It is hot in the Midwest. The lights are down here. You might have just heard the air conditioner come on. So I just want you to bear with me because it's like almost 90 degrees outside. All right. So by the end of this session, what I want for you is to have learned some things about being an influential leader, inspiring and motivating your team that you have not heard before. Because, like you just heard me say, I'm passionate about you learning how to be better And it's not by us learning the same old things that we want to that we've been taught over and over. And specifically, what I want to make sure that you walk away with is something that you can put into action. Yes, theory is important, but the theory is not that important if we don't know how to take the theory, take it back to work with us, and actually implement the things that we need to implement to create the change. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the first part of this presentation, all about why influential leadership is important, specifically in the healthcare industry. And for those of you that have not heard the term influential leadership, it refers to the ability to inspire, motivate, guide your team, guide other people toward achieving a common goal. I want you to think specifically of it and how it works in your own life. Maybe you have Instagram, maybe you've watched a commercial, and through that commercial or by watching your favorite person on social media, they have influenced you to do something, buy something, think a certain way. I want you to think about how that worked in your own internal psychology, why something was able to influence you to do something or think some certain way or buy something, because it's going to be no different than you as a leader. Part of your job as a leader is to be an influencer. So hopefully you can see the connection between what influences you about from a certain person that has been able to make an impact on you, and then how that translates into how you bring that energy to wherever you lead or want to lead. And this is not about even just getting them to show up and do the job. This is about you transcending your vision and actually inspiring them to want to be great at their job, to want to create exceptional results. Because truly, getting someone to perform at that level, getting your team to perform at that level is going to make their job more rewarding. It makes your job easier. It produces better results for your organization. And it goes beyond, like I said in the introduction, these traditional forms of leadership where we think we get a role and people work at the job and you have this role, so they should be listening, they should want to do a good job. That's not how things work. And I'll go into more about why it's hard to influence people, why it's hard to motivate people, so that you understand a little bit about where the different members of your team or life or are coming from. So moving beyond that traditional power and influence and connection, and learning what it truly means to profoundly impact your team or profoundly impact your organization, to create positive change, to create collaboration and drive innovation, which is where healthcare is going in the future. So, here are some key reasons. And if you have a pen and paper, I want you to write these down. And if you don't have a pen and paper, you're probably going to miss out on some very important notes. So, some key reasons why influential leadership is important. Number one, we all know it enhances patient outcomes. If you can influence your team to do a good job, to do an exceptional job, then you can produce a better quality level of care for the patients that you and your team take care of, indirectly or directly. Or if you work in a part of our healthcare system that it doesn't provide direct patient care, then the other things that you do will still lead to the higher patient outcomes, better patient outcomes. So we all are a team that produce these direct and indirect results that cause better patient outcomes. Number two, it allows all of us to foster a thriving work environment. We all have an important job to do when we show up to do our jobs. And we all probably face at some point or another these high levels of stress, these demanding situations. We have stuff not only going on at work, we have stuff going on at home. And so, if you can learn to be a more influential leader, you actually almost create a safe haven within all the stress and the chaos that we have to deal with, so that you feel like you work in a supportive environment, your team feels like they work in an empowering environment, which again snowballs into collaboration, personal growth, and better morale, which then makes your job easier. And if depending on what part of leadership you're in, if you have to deal with revenue and the bottom line, then you know that this the results from this actually increase job satisfaction, improve retention rates, and ultimately just impact the healthcare community and microcosm as a whole, wherever it is that you work. Third thing that is important is we need to be driving innovation and change. A lot of times we in healthcare, we do innovation when it comes to research and when it comes to cutting edge, like research about science and care and all of that stuff. But we don't often spend a lot of time driving innovation and change when it comes to the interpersonal relationships that we have within our organization and as leaders. And while everything else is going to continue to change, and a lot of the things that we're dealing with now are only going to continue, the landscape is going to move with us, without us. So that's not changing. But what I think that we need to understand is that by learning how to influence our team, we can move forward with all the things that are taking place and changing rather than always trying to catch up and take this reactive stance that is actually more stressful, leads to more burnout, leads to less collaboration, worse outcomes, all of the different things. If you are struggling with this in your organization, I want you to take a good look at where you are driving innovation and change, not in the way that you do things, but in the way that the people that do the things are showing up. So there's my little soapbox spiel on that. Number 4, why it's important to build influential leadership is because you build stronger relationships. And we all know what building stronger relationships mean. And then for us to really find this meaning, like if you want, a lot of times, like I remember in one of the last conferences I spoke at, I was asked how to motivate a team, how to get people to want to do their job, show up and just do their job. Because we all have those people on our teams that they just don't even want to do the job that they signed up to do. But a lot of us are at different levels of personal growth, personal development. And one way that you can start to bring those people up to a different level and out of the level that they are in is by inspiring personal growth and development through influential leadership. That is one of the number one ways that is going to actually inspire the members of your team to move forward, to move up, to want to give more, to want to give exceptional care. It's not getting them to do more. It's getting them to grow to a level where they feel that it's inspiring, purposeful, and important for them to want to, they feel a purpose behind what it is that they're doing. And that is what makes leadership so difficult. All right, so let's go to the next slide. I wanted to share some top 10 traits of influential leaders so that you can understand what it is, what it takes to embody an influential leader, and to see maybe some things that you can work on, some things where you're doing great, all of that. Because I think that we think that we may be doing a good job. We think that we're influential. Maybe we think we're influential because our team actually likes us, but influence goes much more than the interpersonal relationships that you have with your team. Are they feeling balanced? Are they getting burned out? Are you getting burned out? Are you truly giving them what they need for personal growth? Are you driving the innovation and change when it comes to the way that they show up and the way that they deliver the care, all of the things? So I want to share these traits with you, write them down, do some self-reflection on them, see where you're doing great, see where you're not doing so great. That way you can figure out what it is that you may need to work on, where it is that you can leverage your strength and may need to lean on other people, other teammates for some of these other things. So trait number 1 is visionary thinking. Influential leaders possess a clear vision and they are able to communicate their vision effectively to their teams. And effectively doesn't mean that it's effective from the way that you say it and the way that you understand it. Effective communication means that the receiver clearly understands what it is that you're trying to convey to them. And vision is actually you communicating not only through words, but through emotion and through whatever helps them to paint that same vision inside of their own psyche. So that means that you may have to use different types of communication, different approaches, and step outside of yourself to see what works for your team. You're able to inspire others to rally around that shared purpose, create a sense of direction. And this is the key, a sense of meaning. And in contrast, what I see when I go into organizations or when I'm working side by side with other leaders is that they usually focus solely on the job that needs to get done, the day to day tasks, and lack this broader vision. And through that broader vision is how you actually inspire and tap into the ability to engage and motivate your team. Trait number two is emotional intelligence. Influential leaders understand and manage their own emotions. I want to take a step back if you are new to my world for you to understand that the things that I am speaking about, I'm not just saying you do these things at work. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you think that you just show up on point doing this stuff at work, but when you get home, your personal life is a mess, you've fallen apart, you need help, all of the things, then you are not embodying the things that I'm saying. To actually embody something means that you have the integrity to show up as a certain person in your personal life, in your public life, almost all the time on point, and not perfect, but you just have honesty and integrity and authenticity about what you do at work and in your personal life. So, influential leaders understand and manage their emotions and those of others, not just at work, also in your personal life. And you're able to exhibit empathy, active listening, and effective communication, which, like I said before, goes beyond what you think you're communicating to the other people in your life, but how are they picking up whatever it is that you're putting down? By fostering emotional connection and trust, what you're able to do is to create this environment where team members feel valued and they feel understood. And unfortunately, what I see happen more often than not is that leaders overlook the importance of this emotional intelligence, specifically your own personal emotional regulation when it comes to all areas of your life, which leads to communication gaps and decreased team morale. Third thing is being adaptive and being agile. Influential leaders embrace change and they're able to adapt quickly to new situations. And when I say that they embrace change and they adapt quickly, this doesn't mean that they're always reactive, but if they need to be reactive, they're able to be reactive. They encourage innovation and they promote a culture of continuous improvement. This is where I want you all to listen because when someone like me comes into your organization that has been in different places, so maybe has different perspectives, one of the first things that I notice is that there is a resistance to me or other people being there. There is a resistance to change. There's some aversion, risk aversion. There's rigid mindsets. There's people that think that the process, everything is working fine. Why do we change things? Why do we hinder the process? And what that actually does is stifle creativity. So I want you to be truly and completely honest with yourself about if you are adaptive and agile. Yes, you might try new things and they might be a waste of time and they may not work, but they might also work. Or even if they don't work, you may learn something important that would make what you're already doing better. But again, more often than not, most leaders that I've come into contact with in organizations all across the world are not adaptive and agile, even if they say out of their mouth that they are. So don't let that be you. Trait number four is collaboration and team building. Influential leaders prioritize collaboration, fostering a sense of teamwork and cooperation. They're able to build diverse and inclusive teams. And I don't mean diverse and inclusive like the buzzwords with race, sex, gender, all that stuff. What I mean when I'm saying diverse and inclusive teams, it's more about the creativity, it's the innovation, it's the collaboration. We're spending too much time paying attention to things that matter, yes, but those are the surface of who we are as people. What's really going to make your organization great is the diversity that comes through our creativity, our innovation, our skills, our strengths, our weaknesses, and recognizing the value of different perspectives and skills and how we can make these things work together in order to have a more innovative and collaborative team. Some leaders, however, they still continue to foster silos, or if you're doing all the work and not helping your team members grow into some of the work, then you're creating barriers to personal growth, job satisfaction. There's barriers in collaboration. And you actually, if you work in a place that is not diverse from the surface level stuff, like I said, the sex, the gender, the race, the all of that, but even the more deeper things, then you actually are limiting your potential for interdisciplinary synergy, especially when it comes to the things that matter outside of your team, that matter when it comes to your organization, the people that you're caring for, the health of your community, the health of when you impact the health of your community, how that impacts their families and the health of their communities, right? It is a big ecosphere of health that you are able to impact via your collaboration, diversity, etc. Fifth trait is resilience and positivity. And I'm going to talk more in depth about resilience at the end of this presentation and then do a Q&A. So I'm just going to briefly touch on resilience and say that influential leaders are able to bounce back more quickly in the face of challenges, and they maintain a positive attitude that inspires their team. They are able to see setbacks as opportunities for growth and motivate their team to persevere. Remember, this resilience and positivity, not just at work. How are you resilient and positive in your own personal life? Because that matters too. That energy can be felt. That's how the world works. We can have a whole nother live stream on that. But what I most often see is leaders, and I'm not blaming because we're human and a lot of stuff has been going on, but the negativity and the stress is getting to us. And while it's understandable, it still has a negative impact on us being able to influence and motivate our teams. We then inadvertently impact the morale and the motivation of our teams. So if you are starting to feel like you're struggling and having that negativity and the pressures of the job and the demands of the job and the stress and all of that get to you, then please listen to the end of this because I do have a solution for you. But recognize that until you do something about it, it is inadvertently impacting your team, your professional life, but also is probably impacting your personal life as well. Another trait they have is authenticity and transparency. Authentic leaders are authentic and transparent. They lead with integrity. And remember, integrity is not just how you show up to do the job. Integrity is how you live your life. And so through that integrity, people can feel that energy, that authenticity, that transparency, and you're able to earn the trust of your team through your honesty and your ethical behavior, and ethical behavior as it relates to how you respect and treat yourself, as well as all the stuff that has to do with work. But some leaders lack transparency or they are inauthentic, meaning you're not the real you. People can feel that. And that leads to skepticism and breakdown of trust within your team. Seventh trait, coaching and development. Leaders that are influential invest in growth and development, not only of themselves from that internal level. We want to put all these letters behind our name and get all these certifications and certificates, yet we haven't done anything about our internal psychology, but we wonder why we can't motivate and influence people to get behind us. Invest in not only the growth of yourself, the growth and development of yourself, but also the growth and development of your team members. And remember, I'm talking about specifically from an internal perspective. You have coaching, you have mentoring, and you have opportunities for advancement of yourself as a person, in addition to professional advancement as well. Number 8, decisiveness and accountability. Maybe almost a year ago, I did a Leading in Healthcare podcast episode about the impact of people that can make a decision, and influential leaders are able to make informed decisions very quickly and take responsibility for the outcomes. They hold themselves accountable, they hold their teams accountable, and that fosters a culture of ownership and continuous improvement. However, this is what I see most of the time. And again, remember, this is embodiment of a trait. So you might think you're doing this at work, but if you're not doing it in all areas of your life, you don't have that integrity, and that integrity builds this energy of distrust. So I see struggles with decision making and accountability that leads to delays and decreased team effectiveness. One way I really see this play out that actually erodes the integrity of a team on a very subtle level, but a very serious level, is when there are leaders that have to have these serious, courageous conversations with underperformers on their team, and they wait to do that, or they are scared to do that. And so they let the situation go on much longer than it needs to be. And by that time, it has eroded your team's trust and faith in you and the connectedness of the team. So that's kind of one of the most common ways that I see that. Another trait, the 9th trait, so we're on the 9th, we got one more after this, is that influential leaders acknowledge and appreciate the contributions of their team members through regular recognition and celebrating achievements, because those do boost morale. The important thing you have to remember here, though, is that do it in a way that your team feels like they're being recognized or celebrated or acknowledged. Because if it doesn't hit hard, kind of like the 5 love languages in our own personal, intimate relationships, then even though you think that you are giving them the recognition that they deserve, they may not be picking up what you're putting down. So all of this is not, again, it's not about you at this point. It's about them at this point. And what I see also happening is that leaders tend to overlook the power of appreciation, which leads to a lack of motivation and diminished engagement among their teams. Sometimes it could be as simple as, I thank you. I didn't even think about that. Thanks for saving my butt. Or I don't know what it could be. You know, I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about. And this is one trait that if you don't embody, it is disintegrating your team cohesiveness. And then number 10 is, again, that lifelong learning, the personal growth, the investing in your own development, the self-reflection, seeking feedback. How do you all think I'm doing? What could I do better? Not getting butthurt when you get the suggestions from them, making it safe for them to speak up and tell you what's actually going on, so that you actually get feedback and information and data that you can actually use to make positive changes on your team. One easy way that I did this was with a suggestion box. So you could put a suggestion in a box. You didn't have to put your name on it. And when I received those suggestions, I would go through them, look at the urgency of them, and I would communicate through a huddle or through a status board, letting them know what I was doing about the things that they put in the suggestion box, so that they would know that even if they didn't see what I was doing on a day-to-day as the leader, that I heard what they said and I was making progress on the things that they were said, or considering the things that they said if I wasn't able to act immediately on those things. So make sure you understand these top 10 traits and figure out through self-reflection what it is that you can do better, what it is that you can work on. All right. How? So how do you do this? I understand that when we go to certain discussions, when we participate in certain discussions like this, we talk a lot about what we should be doing or what it is that we could do. So specifically for this, I want to explore practical strategies that you can put into place to create a thriving work environment. And I'm going to give you some actionable things that you can take and try to put into place even today, tomorrow. I don't know, we all work different hours so that you can kind of see what works for you, try things out instead of just listening to me talk to you about theory. So, number one, collaboration. That's something that's going to drive up your influence and help you be more influential. So, how can you encourage open communication? If you're not doing regular team meetings where where ideas and concerns are shared, then you need to start doing that. And I'm not talking about huddle. Huddle shouldn't be long. Huddle should be like 10, 15 minutes tops. Huddle is to share information. I'm talking about when you bring cross functional teams together and you talk about or tackle complex projects and you encourage collaboration, either maybe between nurses and doctors, between techs and nurses, like you actually go in and you actually looking at the things that matter to your department or your organization or whatever, and establish this open communication for ideas, etc. Now, how can you do this? If you don't already do something like this, you can establish a monthly innovation meeting where you specifically bring all of the team members, either from other departments, disciplines, roles, what have you, and they all come together and brainstorm and share ideas for either improving the morale of the department, improving the delivery of the healthcare, or improving patient care and outcomes, whatever it is, that's something that you all may need to collaborate or work on to get better. Number two, to drive influence in your department or in your own personal leadership style. Another thing you could do is to build trust. And remember, I said to honestly build trust, it takes you having that integrity and that authenticity and that purpose in your own life, professionally and personally. You've all run into somebody that you just couldn't put your finger on it, but you couldn't trust them and you didn't know why because they didn't do anything to show you otherwise. That may be the type of energy that you're putting off if you are not living a life in integrity where you're embodying certain things across all areas of your life. And so, to build trust, I'm not a fan of just having a totally open door if you are someone that has a problem with boundaries, time management, organization, all of that. So if you have a problem with that, I don't want you to have an open door policy. If you are okay with that and you still get your work done, what you are responsible for, have your open door policy. Otherwise, what I would suggest you do is have more of open, like office hours, like we kind of had in college, where maybe there's times where you need to close your door, you need to put your head down, you need to do some focused, deep work on the things that you are responsible for within your organization. But then there's other times where you are able to do lighter work. And if someone comes in and they need to talk to you, you can put things down, give them your full attention, and not jeopardize your own personal performance in the job that you have been entrusted to perform. All right. So, number three, empowerment. You can empower your team by delegating authority and providing opportunities for growth. If there are things that need to be done around the department, you do not always have to do those things. I say this time and time again. A lot of times we think that when we're asking our team members to do something when they're already busy, it feels like we're putting them out. But for them, they want to grow at some point in their career and in their role. And if they're doing the same old thing every day, that's dissatisfying and it's disheartening. So sometimes letting a junior team member showcase their leadership ability and skills and grow and contribute to some sort of a project is something that leads to the empowerment of the people on your team. So look for opportunities where you can do that. And then that innovation, that's important. The innovation, not just on what we do, but the innovation of how we show up. And you can do this by those innovative team meetings that I spoke about, those monthly innovation meetings, but you can also provide resources such as time, funding, training, or support so that they are actually able to explore things that make them better internally, make them better externally, let them explore new technology and new approaches, maybe and this is more doing it with a growth mindset, not just like, oh, let's just try this. And if it probably won't work, but let's just try it. Or we got to check this box. So let's try something new. This is actually bringing a continuous improvement project into your organization or your area and actually giving it full love and attention and just seeing with an open heart, with an open mind, what results from that project and what you learned. And you might be surprised at some of the things that actually make things better. So these are some of the practical strategies that you can implement to start to enhance your morale, improve the performance, and increase the innovation within your department or wherever it is that you lead, which then will inherently add to your ability to be more influential in your leadership. All right. We all know about communication and active communication and effective communication is kind of pounded into our head. So I want to just highlight some things that I think that we do very well, but we don't. I have some notes here. I'm trying to see. All right. Let me just give you some tips just in case you've never heard of what effective communication entails. Active listening. It demonstrates respect and empathy, and it means being present, not thinking about what you want to say next, not thinking about the past, not thinking about the present, or excuse me, the future, but being in the present, maintaining appropriate eye contact, and engaging in attentive body language. I cannot stand when I'm trying to talk to somebody, they're typing, they're looking over here, they're digging through stuff, and they're like, I'm listening. You might be listening, but you're not actively listening. So, active listening is about being present. The other thing is clear articulation of your thoughts and ideas using concise and understandable language, not from your own perspective, from the receiver's perspective. Don't use jargon. Don't use technical terms. If you need diagrams, charts, visuals, because everybody on your team learns differently, maybe you need to approach things at different angles. A lot of times, too, for leaders that feel uncomfortable communicating their own personal needs, they have a real problem just clearly communicating what they want somebody to do. So if you have problems telling people what to do, then you probably are not clearly articulating and thereby making things more jumbled and thereby making things more confusing. So work on that. Building strong relationships. Again, remember what I said about that. It's about trust. It's about honesty. It's about integrity. It's about your energy as a leader. And if your energy is not on point, work on that. Some common mistakes that leaders make that I've seen are assumptions. Assuming that because you think that you are delivering the message clearly or that you understand what you're saying, that other people are also understanding what you're saying. You need to confirm the comprehension through the active and effective communication to see if the way that you thought that you communicated something was actually received in the way that it was intended. So take the time to seek feedback and ensure that your messages are received and they're understood as intended. This again is a life skill. It's not just a work skill, it's a life skill. Another problem is lack of clarity. A lot of people are vague and ambiguous in their communication. A lot of people talk too much. You know, see if you can communicate what it is that you're trying to communicate in the least amount of words as possible so that you can be specific, have context, be clear, be brief, again, because this promotes shared understanding. Some of us have bad body language. And so even if we are saying all the right things and doing all the right things, there are certain things about the tone of our voice, the irritation behind what it is that we have to say or the person that we have to talk to. And all of that can be picked up. And so be mindful of your nonverbal communication because it can impact how your messages are received by others. And then again, that lack of active listening. Let's see, what else did I want to share with you? Yeah, those are the mistakes, the four most common mistakes that I see. All right, let's talk about some of the complexities of motivating your team, because until you understand the complexities behind motivating your team, I think it's going to make it even harder for you to be able to influence their team. You have to learn the barriers that you have to overcome to be influential. One of the top reasons why people lack motivation at work is a lack of autonomy. So when individuals on your team feel like they don't matter, their decisions don't matter, the things that they say don't matter, the things that they do don't matter, either because, maybe we just get caught up in the day-to-day task, or you happen to be someone that is a micromanager, or you don't understand empowerment and motivation, then the members of your team are less likely to want to get behind a shared mission. The second thing that I noticed is that inadequate lack of recognition. So we're not going to go over that again. Third thing is limited growth opportunities. Most people, even if you think that this is where you want to be, if you're doing the same thing day in, day out with a lack of growth, personal development, or clear pathways for advancement, what ends up happening is you end up feeling stagnant and you lose your motivation. So you may see this in yourself because maybe you've been doing your same job, you're expert at it, and although it's not stressing you out or anything, it's not causing you to grow. Or you may see this in team members as well. And so that's where you want to provide these growth opportunities, mentoring initiatives, and providing more challenging assignments so that people are growing up. People are growing up and out of your department. You want people to do that. You want to make room for this continuous flow of movement in your organization so that people don't become disheartened and underperform or leave your organization. Number 4 is the absence of meaningful work. And this ties hand in hand with, we come to work, we just do what we have to do every day, day in, day out. And we wonder why we have disengaged people on our teams, or us ourselves become disengaged. When you don't see the impact of your work, or if your work is not aligned with your personal values, and specifically because it's me, I know that a lot of you don't even know what your personal values are. If none of those are on point, the motivation is not going to be there. And you could try whatever it is that you want to try to get somebody to do something, or some things in your own personal life that you may want to be doing, but you cannot tie them back to personal growth and values and purpose. So you're not doing them the same as they're not doing them when they show up for work, even though they sign up to do the work. Number 5, insufficient feedback and communication. Number 6, poor work-life balance. Just like I said, that some of you as leaders are probably feeling some things that are going on in your personal life. There are also employees within your organization that are overwhelmed and they are having a problem maintaining work-life balance, and you may not know about it. And so if something like this is going on, the motivation can suffer. And it may be as simple as prices going up, right? And if prices are going up and I'll tell you an instance in an organization that I was a part of. So prices are going up. It was a very high cost of living area, and we had to pay to park. And if you looked at the cost to pay to park versus, let's say, what a medical assistant or a tech would make, it was disheartening because so they started to not want to work in our organization and find somewhere maybe closer to home or somewhere with free parking, etc. And I'm not articulating that very clearly, but I just want you to see how it doesn't matter. You can give them a pizza party. You could do all the things that you can to think that you're fostering an empowering and motivating work environment. But if one of the problems that makes them feel overwhelmed and unable to contain balance or adopt balance in their life is not having enough money, then you're not going to be able to motivate them, because what is intrinsically important to them is something that you are not recognizing. Are you going to be able to do that for every team member? No. But I just want you to start to think about how you can approach different problems in your organization from different levels, because different people may need different things. Just like those of you that are parents, the same approach does not work with every child. Sometimes you really got to get in there and dig into who they are to find out what's important to them to actually make them want to do whatever it is that you need them to do behind the mission and the cause. Let me see, what else? Lack of trust in psychological safety. So if you don't have trust in psychological safety, and I already talked about this a lot, then there is an absence of motivation and engagement is likely to decline. If you want to start to build that up, then you need to foster trust, open dialogue, create a safe space. And how you do that is through your influential leadership. And I've already spoken about some ways that you can bring up your trust component in your department or your organization. Another thing is unclear expectations and goals. There's a lot of ambiguity around expected expectations and goals that can lead to confusion and decreased motivation. Again, even though we think what we're saying is clear, or we thought you signed up for this job, just come to work and just do the right thing, there are some people that have come from different conditioning, backgrounds, ethical, work standards, what have you, that don't have that same point of view that you do. And so for you all, this may be a time where you have to, again, almost take it down to an elementary level and be more clear. All right, we have a comment. You're absolutely correct. We are unique in our own way, so it takes different communication tactics for different people. Totally true. Different communication, different motivation tactics, all of the things. And then we all know this one. I'm just going to put it out there because we're ignoring this part. Inadequate compensation and rewards. When employees feel compensations and rewards are not matching their efforts and contributions, motivation can diminish. And we can feel that from not only our leadership level, where we have a lack of resource, and so we're asked to do more, to work at the bedside more, all the things, all the way down to all of the other staff members that may have to pick up extra hours, do extra work, etc. You at that point are going to have to see the culture of your organization and what makes people feel like the energy that they are contributing to your organization, to your team, and to your department matches what they get on the receiving end. We all know that statement about not being able to pour from an empty cup. You have to think of it as energetic balance. If you are giving a lot, or somebody else is giving a lot, and they're not receiving in a way that is meaningful to them, then you're going to have to find what matters to them to be able to make them feel that they are being compensated and rewarded. For some people, it is going to be money and it's going to be bonuses. What you may notice that will help you drive this fact home is there are people within your organization that they show up and they do the work no matter what. If we have to work extra hours, they're doing the work. Some of them have a problem with boundaries and all the other stuff. I talk about that a lot. But for some of them, the reason why they are like that is because they're motivated from other values and other purposes that are intrinsic to them, which makes them show up with the spirit of giving and having stuff in their cup to give. But for other people, again, this compensation and rewards is not just about, well, why aren't you doing more for the sake of the patients? It's about how can they fill up their cups to be able to give, and how can they feel like you care about them and like you know that they matter by helping them fill up what they've given to your department, to your organization, etc. Let's see. I've got another comment. Be concise and clear. To try different forms of communication, oral, written, and repeat what you are understanding is when verbally speaking to somebody. Yeah, so it's about trying different things and also seeking understanding. And again, that works not only in your professional life, but also your personal life. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about neuroscience because you guys know I love to talk about that. Oh man, we might have to do a part 2. All right, so I'm going to talk about neuroscience, and then we'll do a part 2 so that I can give you the other juice, because I think this is a very important topic. For those of you that are know that you have any questions you want me to answer, start thinking about those because we have a Q&A section coming up. But if you want to understand the neuroscience behind motivating your teams and the intricate dynamics of influential leadership, then I want to share with you some ideas. Number one is it is very complex to lead others. So if you are in a leadership role and you're thinking that, okay, I've worked my way up successfully to where I am, and I think that things should work symbiotically and smoothly, and you are in a place where you don't feel that they are, you're just wanting to learn how to do better, you have to understand that leading a team is not about, again, a role. It's a complex endeavor that goes way beyond your roles, your job descriptions, etc. And it's about understanding human behavior, understanding emotions, and understanding how we cognitively process things. If you want a little bit of a touch on cognitive processing, then I want you to go and check out um, a LinkedIn Live that I did not too long ago called The Science of Making Decisions. And you're going to see that there's different things that happen to us internally that make it more complex to lead. And so if you want to learn to be a better leader, don't study all this other stuff about crucial conversations and all that stuff until you understand human behavior, emotions, and cognitive processes, because that's the underlying root cause of what is going to make you a better leader. So if you're finding that these theories and these books that you're reading and these things that you're trying aren't working, then you need to go back to leadership being all about human behavior and emotions. So that's number one. Number two, let's talk about the power of internal psychology and how it plays a pivotal role in your ability to influence and lead. This is about you understanding your own beliefs, your values, your emotions, and your mindset, and the way that you show up as a leader. Remember, you need to understand your own internal junk, and then how your inner psychology then influences how others perceive and respond to you and to your leadership, which shapes the level of trust, engagement, and commitment that you demonstrate, that your team demonstrates. I'm going to stop here so that I can get to the thing that I wanted to talk about that can help you if you like what you're hearing and you want to go further. But for this point about the internal psychology and your beliefs, values, and emotions, and the way that you show up as a leader, and I'm going to say the way that you show up in your personal life, I think this is the biggest gap that I think that I see in most people that I coach, and it's that they don't understand how others perceive or respond to them, to the things that they say, to the things that they do, to the energy that they're putting off. So for you, for the takeaway for today, I want you to look into your internal psychology and start to pay more attention through emotional intelligence to how people receive you as a full human being, because I think that you're going to learn a lot about yourself and a lot about what people think about you and the success of your leadership based on you digging deep into some self-reflection around that. All right, so we'll finish the rest of this in a part two. I wanted to leave off though quickly to let you know that if you like what you hear and you want to learn more about how you can be a better leader, specifically when it comes to those of you, there are 1 and 2 of us, so 50 to 60% of us that are watching this, that are listening to this, when we look across the room in a meeting, half of us are experiencing stress from the pressures and the demands of life, from our personal jobs, or excuse me, from our personal lives and from our professional lives. And because of that, we are slowly fading emotionally, mentally, physically. And we know that it's starting to impact healthcare negatively, but it's also starting probably to impact you in your personal life negatively, and to be able to show up and to be able to do your job and do it the way that you want to do it. And so in a few weeks, we're going to be starting up a 6-week program for mental resilience, which is your ability to bounce back and continue to move forward in challenging situations, or if you're going through tough times, and learn how you can not only learn deeper how you can do the things that I'm teaching you in live streams such as these, but then keep it going and also maybe teach other people that you work with the things that I teach, then you may want to consider joining this program. You'll be able to learn how to not only empower yourself, so you strengthen your resilience, develop a positive mindset, and overcome obstacles. But for a lot of you, you've reached out to me and you've told me that you don't feel like you feel heard and appreciated or work in a supportive environment. And so this is your opportunity to be able to invest in yourself, your learning, your growth, and do it in a supportive environment of other people that want to learn the same thing as you. And then, as you can see, I don't teach the basics. We go more advanced. So this is your opportunity to learn the advanced techniques that are actually going to make the lasting changes in the way that you show up at work, in the way that you lead your team, in the way that you impact healthcare, and in the way that you show up so that you can experience a higher quality personal life. And it's $200 off. I extended that $200 off for about another week. So make sure you check out the information because the early bird special is still on. If you go and look at the website, you're going to see the investment in this program is already a no-brainer because I know that you guys are struggling and you need help and you feel off and you feel stressed and you feel like you're barely keeping it together. And some of you are on the brink of walking away if you haven't already. But the $200 off certainly helps. For some of you, your organization pays for things like this, so you could probably get them to pay for it or get reimbursed. So don't let something financial hold you back. And if you think that you need a different type of payment plan, just reach out to me because I'm just passionate about you getting the help that you need. Because if I'm sick, if somebody in my family is sick or your family is sick, we're all counting on each other to be able to show up and do our jobs at peak level and trust that we're going to get the best care and support that we need. So if you want to learn more about that, you can either scan this QR code or you can go to the website bit.ly/mental mastery program. We are starting in a few weeks. And like I said, you still have another week to get the $200 off. And there are multiple payment plans available for that. And now I'm just checking to see if there are any questions. For that, I actually sometimes have to go into LinkedIn. Although, let's see. I'm going to go on LinkedIn real quick while I see if there are any questions. One other thing. It says thriving in the demanding healthcare leadership role. Some of you as clinicians, for some reason, think that you're not a leader. But if your patients are counting on you to help guide their decisions, you're a leader. If you work with an MA that is counting on you, you're a leader. If you are an MA that is an expert at what it is that you do, you're a leader. So don't just think that you have to be in a leadership role to be a leader. We're all leaders in different areas of our roles. And so I just wanted to make sure that we understood that. Let's see. I don't have any questions. If you watch the replay and you have questions, be sure to leave them here and I will make sure to come back and answer. As always, I will be doing a part 2 because I got a lot of information to share with you all. So I'll put more information up about the part 2 and we'll just continue where we left off. But I like to keep these at least to an hour or under. And so we're going to head and let everybody go. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hope to see you inside the Mental Resilience Mastery Program because 50 to 60% of us are struggling. Make sure you share the word. Make sure you share this replay on your LinkedIn feed so that other people can get more help on how to be an influential leader as well. All right, take care. Talk to you later. Bye.